Hello, everybody. Today we're going to go into the lymphatic system. So one of the functions of the lymphatic system right here, three of them, okay, fluid recovery, fat transport, and defense. So one of the things about the lymphatic system is it's a system of vessels that carry excessive excessive fluid to the bloodstream and filter pathogens from the blood. So like it says here, 20 liters of the fluid leaves the capillaries, okay, due to hydrostatic pressure. You guys remember hydrostatic pressure is like a hose pushing through, okay, and then it will leak. And then 17 liters are reabsorbed by osmotic pressure. You guys remember osmotic pressure is it follows, it's like the salt and water, the osmosis we talked about, okay. And what happened to the 3 liters? It is drained back, okay, and also it will help with fat transport. We're going to look into that very soon. And then it helps with defense. You guys know when your lymph nodes are swelled up, okay, you might be getting sick, or you might be done with sickness. So allow return of the leukocyte to circulation to deliver them to the lymph nodes. We'll learn a lot more about the lymph nodes and how cells are mature in there and all that. Okay, so the lymph nodes, if we look at this guy right here, okay, it begins as open-ended capillaries. Okay, so let me see where I find it here. There's that open-ended thing right there. Okay, so as blood travels through, a lot of them will be absorbed into the lymph nodes, okay, into the lymph vessel right here. And you have a lot of lymph vessels in the armpit, in the neck, abdomen area, in the groin, okay. Let's see, where did it go? Right here. So if you see this picture, you see some valves here as well. You remember we talked about, remember we talked about some of the veins, okay, with valves in there. So once it squeezes, pushes the blood up to the heart, and then these valves stops it from coming back, okay. When you squeeze, the valve open, pushes like that, okay, and this won't allow it to come back this way. So this is a recall of how the skeletal muscle and the veins work. Let's see if we can get to a better picture of the lymph. Okay, here it is. Here's that open-ended vessel, okay. The interstitial fluid enters the lymph capillary and becomes lymph nodes. It becomes lymph fluid, okay, due to hydrostatic pressure. Remember, as the pressure goes, and some of them are leaked out into the interstitial fluid and then be absorbed into the lymph, okay. Now this one, you'll see this term a lot, lacteal. Lacteal in the villi absorbs fat. So fat goes into the lacteals, okay. Similar to blood capillary, except they have overlap with valve control. So again, it's another system of vessels, okay. Lymph vessels. The walls are similar, okay, but thinner than those of the vein. Lymphatic vessels are composed of 3 layers: endothelial at the outside or inside, smooth muscle in the middle, and connective tissue on the outside. Again, it contains valve. Larger vessels will lead to lymph nodes, okay, and then merge to form larger vessels called the lymphatic trunk. And we're going to see all these here. So here in the lab, we'll have this guy, and you'll see all these lymph nodes and all these trunks. Okay, here is some of them. Okay, here's a cervical trunk, axillary trunk right here. So here are the lymph nodes. Okay, here are the lymph nodes and the lymph vessels. Okay, the trunk drains the lymph from the lymphatic vessels. These are named based on the region. You have lumbar, which is your low back, intestinal, intercostal, bronchial, mediastinal in the middle, subclavian and jugular. Okay. Ducts, thoracic originate in, it's called a cisterna chyli. It is in here, okay, and in the lab we'll be able to see better. It passes the anterior vertebra, ending in the left subclavian, so it goes up, ending in the left subclavian right here. Okay. The right lymphatic originate as the jugular on the right. It drains into the right subclavian. Right there, see that little thing right there? It drains into the right subclavian vein. Okay. Again, the immune system, it is very important. The lymphatic system is very important for the immune system. Okay, they work hand in hand. 3 phases. Okay, barrier defense. First, you have your skin and mucosal membrane that will stop the bacteria or viruses from coming in. Then you have something called an innate immune response. Cell and soluble factor is rapid and non-specific. So innate is something that you're born with, okay, and then it is whatever that is foreign, your body will attack. Adaptive immune system is a little bit slower because it has to learn what kind of bacteria it is, what kind of virus it is, okay, and we're going to learn that later in the chapter, specifically lymphocyte, okay, and it's a little bit slower process than the innate one. Again, we saw this chart already. Phagocyte, phagocytic cell, lymphocyte, and cytoplasmic with granule. Okay, you guys remember this chart? Okay, phagocyte, you guys remember, is just digest pathogens. Lymphocyte will respond for adaptiveness. We'll learn that T cell, B cells, okay, cell with cytoplasmic granule mediate immune response, and we're going to learn that very, very soon. Okay, lymphocyte. Primary cells of adaptive immune system, also known as B and T cells. They look the same, but different in the surface marker, okay? Also differ in site of maturation. One is in the bone marrow, one is in the thymus. So if you look at the name, B would be mature in the bone marrow, and T would be mature in the thymus. Okay, so this chart is very important. Okay, so you have to remember this chart. But let's look back here. Okay, so lymphocyte. Okay, T cell, B cells. Okay, so we're talking about here. The B cells, again, it matures in the bone marrow. Primary production of antibodies. Antibodies are things that will, like a Y shape, it's Y shape. It'll be circulating around, binding to antigens. Antigens are things that are foreign to us, okay? Chemical structure on the surface of pathogens. So they are on top. They identify markers of enemies, and then that's what they have. And then the B cells will produce antibody, and it will attach to their antigen, and that's how they get rid of them. Now T cells secrete factors to enhance or destroy cells infected with the pathogens. So this one, the cell is already infected, and it will secrete things to destroy the cell that has the pathogen in it. Okay? Let's see where we are. Ooh. Plasma cell, which is this at the end of the B cells. Plasma cell, this is a B cell that has changed because it's binding to antigen. This this cell can now secrete antibodies. So when the B lymphocyte, it is still immature, it has not seen any pathogens yet, okay, it's called a B lymphocyte. Once it's exposed to a bad guy, okay, or bacteria or virus, it is now called a plasma cell, because it can now develop antibodies. It can secrete antibodies. Natural killer cells on this guy right here, okay, all come from lymphoblasts. Part of the innate non-specific response that has granule, which can kill cells infected with viruses. Okay, so it will secrete. These granules might have something called a lysosome, which will then attach to a cell that's been infected, and then it will destroy the whole cell of the virus. Okay, as we learn, B cells comes from the bone marrow. Okay, red bone marrow. B cells undergo nearly all their development and maturation in the bone marrow here. B cells. Okay, thymus. Now I don't think they have a picture here of where the thymus is. Okay, so it's around the heart. Please look up where the thymus is. T cells begin in the red bone marrow, but leave and mature here in the thymus. Okay? T cell in the thymus. Oh, there it is. Thymus right there. Okay? Thymus gland, larger in infant and during puberty, replaced by fat. Okay? It's divided into lobe. Progenitor cells arrive from the bone marrows and mature and divide here in the thymus gland. Secondary lymphoid organ. So the primary lymphoid organs, okay, the bone marrow and the lymph and the thymus. Okay, the secondary lymphoid organ are the secondary lymphoid organs. Okay, the lymphocyte develops and mature in the primary lymphoid, which is the bone marrow and the thymus, but then leave, and then it will go to the secondary lymphoid organs. Okay, the one that is immature is called naive lymphocyte. Okay, they have yet to encounter an antigen. Okay, so these lymphocytes will circulate in the blood and the lymph, but when it comes to reside in the lymph node, the spleen, and the lymphatic nodules, okay, MALT, look up where that is. Okay, pear patch is around is around your abdomen. Okay, MALT is another word for mucosa associated lymphoid tissue. Mucosa associated lymphoid tissue.